Taino T, introduce yourself.
Taino T, my name is Ranald Woodaman. I'm the Exhibitions and Global Programs Director at the Smithsonian Latino Center.
Okay, my name is Jorge Estevez, Taino. I work at the Museum of the National Museum of the American Indian, and I follow his lead.
Well, together, we're part of the team that pulled this exhibition together after 7 or more years of research specifically on this exhibit, and then in combination with a lifetime of research of folks like Jorge and Jose Barreiro.
I think one of the things that I do want to convey is that I want people to understand that this is an exhibit that was made by all the Taino people. We just put things together, but the Taino people are the ones who made this happen.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely this exhibit was done really with a lot of intentional respect to go and talk to the many different folks in the Taino community to say, like, why is this important to you? Where did this identity emerge from? Like, how long has your family always been talking about it? What kind of traditions do you keep alive? Why? What's important about this movement to you? What kind of solutions do you think it might offer, either like individuals, communities, or even the islands?
Right.
Oh, so today is opening day. What's so special, or what's the importance about this exhibit?
Jorge, I'm going to have you talk about that first, because this is an exhibit. This is not my story, but a story that I helped sort of co-tell. But this is definitely a story that is what you've been really working on your whole life. So I'm going to let you respond first.
I think this is important simply because it opens up a dialogue, an honest dialogue about the indigeneity that's present in the Caribbean. There's a lot of it, and it just can't be swept under a rug the way it's been done in the past. So I don't think the museum is trying to prove that there are Indians in the Caribbean. That's not the intention, but that there is something there that has to be looked at in a very serious way. And I think that this exhibit definitely captures that.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to talk about living native legacies across the Caribbean, which is sort of part of everybody's heritage who's a Caribeño or Caribeña. But we also want to talk specifically about the Taino movement, because a lot of people who are Dominican, Puerto Rican, Cuban, in the United States and in the islands have been looking at this movement saying, hey, I feel connected to this, but I also at the same time don't understand where it's coming from, because it's different than what I learned in official history. So how can all this be? So what we really wanted to do was talk to folks in the movement, talk to folks who keep these traditions alive, and just sort of try to explain it to the rest of the public in a respectful way.
So is there going to be a discussion going on in September, or what is?
Yes, on September 8th we're going to have a symposium. So you're all invited to come, September 8th, right here in the museum. And hope to see you there.
Yeah, free and open to the public. First come, first seated. So that's one thing to keep in mind. We will not be taking reservations, so you can just need to show up and claim your seat. And this symposium is talking about 3 things. On the one hand, it is looking backwards and recovering the early history of the Taino movement. Our next session is trying to unpack the issue of DNA, genetics, and genealogy, and what all that means. And the third issue is really about coming together and looking forward and having all the different Taino groups talk about, like, well, what is our vision for the future?
Just closing out, last question. How long is this exhibit is open, and when can they come and view this exhibit?
Well, it opened up today, July 28th, and it'll be up for approximately a year.
Yeah, to October of 2019. Hopefully it will be extended, we'll see. But you can come every day of the year except for December 25th.
That's right.
Yeah. And I would say you might want to check out the education department's sort of hands-on
we have
demos.
we have a lot of hands-on demonstrations. I'll be doing a hammock making demonstration, and somewhere along the line we're doing a cassava making demonstration as well. So please come by.
All right, Taino T, and to the next discussion. Hey George, you just said something like that sounded really cool about DNA. You talking about the Wayakan and mitochondrial DNA and stuff like that.
You want me to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I was mentioning was that it was in was it 2003 actually. A study was done in the Dominican Republic. A research team went out to a place where you see the features very visibly, indigenous features. It's called El Camino Turístico. It goes from Sosúa all the way down to Puerto Plata. And it's a road that goes all the way up the mountain and then it goes down to the beach, basically. So they were looking for mitochondrial DNA, specifically haplogroup A, which the study believed was the main haplogroup responsible for what the Tainos carried. So they only sequenced about 234 people, but what happened was that from this 234 people, over 33% of them came out with haplogroup A, but there were actually 9 different lineages, okay? So that's a lot of lineages for just one single area. So basically, 3 of the lineages were of a haplogroup, or rather a haplotype, that is not Dominican. These came with Indians that came probably as servants, or people that had moved into the area from the mainland, from the Yucatan perhaps, or maybe from South America. But the other 6 haplogroups were specifically, geographically specific to the Dominican Republic. Of these, one of the haplogroups, one of the haplotypes matched haplotypes in Puerto Rico, so we know that there's a genetic connection there. And then another one matched Cubans, so we know that there's a genetic connection there. But the majority of them, 4 of these haplotypes, are geographically specific Dominican, from Dominican indigenous people. So that proved that the Indian blood that you find on the island is indeed from the Taino people. It doesn't come from outside of the island. You know, what does come from outside the island is very minimal. You know, something like 5% perhaps.
Okay, thank you.
Got it.
Taino Rene. Yeah, so this exhibit just opened. Just please give your take.
I think this exhibit is really good. I think because you don't see a lot of the Taino exhibits around the world. You don't see Taino artifacts in other museums. You see just a little minuscule things. Like if you go to the Museum of Art, you see like maybe like 4 just like 4 artifacts. But here you see a variety of things. You see the people who's been claiming their Taino descent for 30 years, and this is an opportunity for us to represent our ancestors and to let people know that we still exist and that in our culture. And you can see here, you go here, you see a lot of people from different varieties of the world, from China, from Japan, who comes here to let them know that we're still here. So I think a lot of people should come here and look at the artifacts, and you see George's grandmother's passport. She has Indios there as her nationality when she first came here to the States. And you see a lot of people here. You see images of people from Dominican Republic who still practice the agricultural and the cassava that the Taino people done when Columbus first arrived in the Americas. So I think it's a good opportunity for people to come here and check it out. And I guarantee you, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen of any type of Taino activities. So yeah, I think people should come and check it out. I think it's good.